both cameras.
Perfect. Okay.
Like, I pulled over and just sort of, I sat there and had a moment where either this is where I'm going to die or I've got to do something. I decided that I needed to figure out what it was that I needed to change in my life to figure out how to be happy. My name's Justin Kruger, and Project Helping is the organization that I started based on my own struggles with my mental health and my good fortune of finding volunteerism as a tool. I grew up in a ridiculously small town, is how I describe it. It's called George, Iowa. As someone who started struggling at a really young age with my mental health, it wasn't easy to say anything about it. Point at which my mental health first got really bad was in 7th grade. Like, I would ride the bus to school, couldn't sit by anyone. Go to school, couldn't partner with anyone. Go to lunch, couldn't sit with anyone. And that was a year. And that's a very isolating feeling. So there's a part of me that very much just wanted to show everyone. I saw successful people and I wanted to be like them because they looked happy. Such a good question. It's like you do this for a living. Part of what I think was instilled in me growing up in a small town is a lot of folks there met their future wife in high school. I had no intention of staying there, but I did get married basically right out of high school, like a year and a half out of high school. I was 19 years old. So we had our first baby at 21. I was 21, she was 20. But I eventually got a job with Ping, the golf club manufacturer. Like, I was doing all the things that I thought would make me happy, all the while struggling really intensely, mostly because I was doing all the things and I was not happy. Not far down the road, Ping moved me from Omaha to Denver, and that was a big positive change, or was supposed to be. My wife and kids were still in Omaha, so I'm by myself. So I spent almost a month here living in an extended stay. But that is about the lowest, darkest place I've ever found myself in. So I had a trip planned to go through, see all my golf courses, my accounts out there. But I had taken with me enough medication to take my own life in the hotel that night. That was the plan. And I was driving, so it's dark, and I'm all by myself. I just couldn't keep driving. Like, I pulled over and just sort of, I sat there. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't follow through with it. The irony of that is not being able to do it made me feel like a failure. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it to mostly my kids, pretty much just my kids. When you get divorced with kids, you don't get a lot of time to yourself. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment where my kids would spend a lot of time with me, which made me incredibly happy. But after a little while, I decided I should probably see about dating. You know, coming off of panic attacks and near suicide seems like a healthy time to start a new relationship. I created a Match.com profile. And so I saw this picture of this woman, and she was adorable. And so I messaged her, and I don't know why, but she wrote back. So we went on our first date. Obviously, it went well. Shortly after, she had said, "Hey, I'm gonna go volunteer. Would you like to go?" And I, of course, said yes. I am a pillar of the community, which is completely untrue. But you don't really say no to that on your 3rd or 4th date, because that probably doesn't bode well for subsequent dates. I was so completely moved by the experience of just showing up, hearing about how the work that I was gonna do that day would help people. But that day, as cliche as it sounds, genuinely saved my life. I immediately started looking for all the ways that I could possibly volunteer. I needed it. I needed to volunteer. It was the thing that I was doing that would drive my own happiness. Understanding that and realizing that it was actually something that was really helping me was the entire concept for Project Helping. So I do remember the moment that I called Ashley, my wife, and said, I get why I want to do this so much. I get how it's helping me. But also I think I might want to make this a thing that I do, start a nonprofit. We just started putting on little volunteer opportunities that we would organize from home and just invite people to, and just sort of like a side fun thing. But it just kind of kept growing steadily over that time, where either I was gonna have to hire someone to run this thing, or I was gonna have to leave my really good corporate job to do this. It hasn't always been the easiest journey. Oh, Riley. So Riley was my first daughter. I have two. I do remember vividly the day that Riley came to me and said she needed to talk about something. And at that point, I was well into running Project Helping, being firmly rooted in this mental health space. I think I knew what she needed to tell me, but I asked every other question I could first, hoping that it wasn't that she was struggling. We were very fortunate to be able to put her in therapy, get her access to medication, psychiatrists, psychologists, you name it, anything she needed. And I genuinely thought that she was doing better. We had actually just moved into our first real Project Helping office, and we were in the midst of setting it up. And earlier in the day, she had told me she wasn't feeling well because she was actually supposed to be in the office helping me. And Riley called. I'd called to check on her a few times, said, hey, how you feeling? She's like, oh, my stomach still really hurts. When she called me again at 3:30, I was so annoyed, honestly. I was like, Riley, you know I'm busy, I'm working, trying to set up this office. And there was the longest pause, but there was a weight to that pause that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And I remember her saying, I know why I don't feel good. I took a bunch of pills. And I was like, man, am I gonna be able to get to her in time? Loaded her in the car and we raced to the children's hospital. And so I just stood in the hallway for quite a while. In that moment, I felt like such a failure as a parent. Not just because I was a parent of a kid that made a suicide attempt, but because I'm also in the mental health space. I did all the things I was supposed to do and this still happened. The first time I got to see her and when I knew she was gonna be okay were two very different times. I was fully out. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be in this space. I can't be around this. If I can't help my own daughter, how am I gonna help other people? I'm obviously a failure. As she and I and our family and everyone involved sort of processed through that, Riley was really adamant that she wanted to use her experience to try to help people. I was like, man, if she can do that, after what she's just been through, and she can sort of talk about how she wants to use that to help people, then I can't quit. I can't stop. At the beginning of starting this, if you had told me we would get to where we are right now, I would have taken it 100 times out of 100. I could have never imagined we'd be where we are. So when you combine our Kind Kit program with our in-person volunteer program, with our school-based program, with our mental wellness program that provides therapy and support groups to people that need access. We serve about 200,000 individuals a year. We've really only scratched the surface of where we hope to go with what we're doing. I think that until we get to a point where everyone understands volunteerism to be a meaningful mental health tool that's mentioned right along the side of therapy or medication, then we still have a long way to go. So one of our favorite metrics to track is how many people our volunteers have impacted. So there's this secondary and tertiary impact that happens as a result of that work. We've created over $20 million in real tangible benefit for our community and for nonprofits. It sounds very cliche, but I genuinely think everything happens for a reason. So I don't think that I would change anything.